If you're looking for a place to flow in your creativity and well being, you're in the right place. Welcome to A Concept You, the podcast, where we explore creativity, intentional living, and self expression. I'm your host, Makala Aayana. Welcome to the playground. Let's get into today's episode. I am so grateful to be back in this space with you guys. Today I'm feeling recharged, a little tired. 5 miles yesterday in preparation for my half marathon in April. And that is the longest that I have ran probably since high school. It took me an hour to finish all 5 miles, and my body is definitely speaking. So today I am taking it easy. I went on a very short morning walk just to get some movement and did some good morning yoga, made myself some breakfast, and now I am talking to you guys. And I have been realizing or just remembering what building a routine looks like for myself and refiguring out what a good routine looks like right now. So I'm really grateful to be in a better headspace, to feel more grounded, more centered, more secure with where I am. And just knowing that, not everything is perfect, but I do know that everything will work out as it should. And so just learning to release those things. But I also want to check in with you. How are you feeling? How are you sitting right now, or standing or laying down? Where in your body are you holding the most tension? What can you do right the second to release that? Lower your shoulders, sit upright, take a deep breath. Actually, yeah, let's take a deep breath. I feel like breath work is something I always go back to. I think it calms me very easily when I am in an era of just chaos, or I feel overwhelmed or worried about whatever is to come. Going back to my breathing, going back to what literally gives me life is the best way that I have found to calm myself down in the split of a second, especially during stressful situation. Always going back to your breath to reground yourself, to remind you that you are okay. A lot of the time when we are in stressful situations, it's easy to tense up. It's easy to worry about everything that could go wrong instead of letting go of expectations of how it should or should not go. Honestly, that word should is something that I've been thinking a lot about recently as well. Is when you preface something with it should be this way, or it should have this outcome, you are putting all of these extra expectations on how it will come out, and God forbid it doesn't come out the way that you expected, and then you're spiraling, or your mood is thrown off because that's not how you expected it to work out. A lot of times, and this is me coming to terms with some of the things that I've experienced, honestly, over the last couple of weeks, is the expectation of how things in an ideal world would look like. And just understanding that sometimes that gap is there because that is not actually what it should look like or what it's supposed to look like. Because everything happens for a reason. You're put into situations, you're tested for a reason to make you stronger, to give you an experience, to build yourself up. And I think there's just been a lot of parallels in that idea, I feel like, in my life recently. One of the things that I have been really enjoying actually in my half marathon prep is using the Nike Run app. They have a 12-week half marathon training plan, and I am on week 2. And it's pretty nice. It has it broken down into recovery runs, into speed runs, so that's interval training, tempo runs, fartlek runs, and then it also has at least one long run on each week, so that you're working up, or that I'm working up to build my endurance to race day, which is 13.1 miles. One of the things on my last run yesterday that really rung with me on the guided run that I did, I think it was about maybe a little bit over halfway or almost halfway. And he asked us to check in with ourselves, to think about our form, to think about where our mind is wandering, to think about if we've lost, I guess, focus on the run. And it's very easy. It's very easy, especially when so basically on the guided runs, there's moments of silence and then there's also moments when they're talking to you. A lot of times when they're talking to you, sometimes I'm like, please stop talking, please. But it does make some of the run go by faster because I am thinking about what they're saying and I'm actually responding. So one of the questions was, how do you feel? What does your form look like? Are you leaning forward? Are you falling back? Are your arms, crossing your body, which makes it very hard to efficiently run? Are your arms straight forward and back is the movement? Are you pumping your legs? Is your stride long? Is your stride short? So really thinking about the movement, the position that you are in as you are working out and as you're running is something that helps me, or I realized helped me in that run to stay present because I was checking in on my body. I was checking in on myself, literally having an internal dialogue about how I'm feeling in this very moment. And if my answer to those questions was out of breath or struggling or fatigued, whatever that answer was, I could adjust in that moment and keep moving forward. Keep putting one foot in front of the other, but I could readjust. And there's nothing wrong with readjusting while you were on the journey, while you were on the run. And sometimes when I think about that, I think, oh my gosh, I have to start from scratch. I have to redo my entire plan if I am in a space where whatever I'm doing is just not working out. It's just not bringing me joy. It is not bringing me peace. It's not adding value in my life. But sometimes you have to ask yourself, how do you feel right now in this very moment? And if that answer leads you down a different path, so be it. That is the intention. There is nothing wrong with pivoting. There is nothing wrong with pausing, and there's nothing wrong with starting over. There are those things exist for a reason. You have to give yourself permission to learn. And by learning, you go through pauses, you go through moments of time where you have to restart or you have to re-strategize how you're approaching things, how you're approaching your life. And I just think sometimes there's a little bit too much pressure on, my gosh, I'm not getting far enough, or I have to take a step back, or I have to pause where I'm at in order for me to ground myself and feel better before I can continue. And that is really what has been helping me lately to kind of think through. This is what's been going on in my mind. I am way too hard on myself sometimes, extremely hard, where I am setting myself up with these expectations of what things should look like, where I am beating myself up for pausing or taking the time to simply rest. And my Aura Ring has been really helpful in helping me to reprioritize my rest because coming back from the flu, y'all, when I tell you this thing beat me down, it beat me down. But it also reminded me that it is so important for me to focus on my rest. Not just sleeping, not just taking naps, but downtime, mental downtime, emotional downtime, physical downtime. Not every day do I do super tough workouts or super long runs. Like I mentioned, in the Nike running app, there are recovery runs, there are speed runs, there are different types of endurance building exercises or runs that help me get to my end goal, but it speaks to and it honors where I'm at now. If one day I don't have the energy, my body is telling me, girl, don't go on that run, guess what? I'm not going on the run. But what I will do is pivot to something else that I know will help me where I'm at today. And that might look like going on a walk. That might look like stretching. That might look like yoga. That might look like a 20-minute strength training video that I literally found on YouTube. All that to say, there's nothing wrong with pivoting. There's nothing wrong with changing your trajectory. Lord, I could not get that word out. When what what is in front of you is no longer serving you. I think another thing about it too is leaning into the things that you find brings you joy, even if that does not align with what other people expect you to do or expect to see you do. I think there's so much beauty in trying new things, in exploring, and just letting yourself be curious, letting yourself question things, to wonder, to learn, to figure out something that you've just never tried before. And getting back into my creativity, I have realized just how much it flows. As long as you continue to create, as long as you are using your divine right to create, to build, to make, to craft something with your own hands, with your own thoughts, I think that is the intent. That is the goal. And before you say I'm not creative, I'm not an artist, everyone is creative. It does not have to mean creativity can look like a bunch of different things. How you dress yourself is creative. The food that you cook for yourself is creative. The way that you talk is creative. The way that you write is creative. The way that you move your body, you are doing it in a way that is unique to you. Because you are unique. You are the only person that looks like you, the only person that is exactly like you is you. And when you lean into that, I feel like it's so much easier to let expectations go because you know, regardless, you gonna do you. And if in that moment you doing you does not feel right, then you pivot and continue to do you regardless. It all comes back down to literally, if something is not working out for you, change that thing up. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with starting over. There's nothing wrong with creating a new goal or routine or way of approaching something for yourself because it's necessary. You evolve. That's literally the intent. You evolve, you grow, you learn, and you are in a different space that better suits, better serves the person that you are or the moment that you are in right now. Last week, I did an interval training where every minute or every 2 minutes, I would have to run at a certain energy level. So 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10. I think that was kind of the max. I would, for a minute, focus on driving, really focusing on my form actually, because I realized when I focus on my form, my running form, it's easier for me to speed up because I am pumping my arms and giving myself added momentum versus me thinking about how fast I am going. Because once I do that, my form is completely off. When I'm aligned with my form, I realize how much easier it is for me to breathe, especially through my nose. I feel like when I'm running, sometimes it's harder for me to breathe out of my nose. And so I'm breathing through my mouth, which it just doesn't always work well or it doesn't feel good. And so I've been trying to really focus when I am running on how is my form right now? Is it helping me? Does it need to be adjusted? Is my breathing regulated? How easy or hard is it for me to breathe? And sometimes it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be, I'm supposed to be out of breath, not able to say anything but a couple of words. And that is me building my cardiovascular health. That's me building endurance. But sometimes when I am in, for example, in a longer run, there is a stride, there is a comfortable pace that I should be at or expect myself to be at. And when I want to reach that pace, the easiest way for me to do that is to focus on my form. One of the things in interval training is that it's easy to think, okay, I have 15 intervals, I have all of these different workouts that are going to be in this one thing, or all of these different sections of running that are in my entire run for that day. And one thing that I realize is I would look at my phone to try to see what was coming up. But in the app, it actually does not tell you what intervals are coming up. Rather, the person who is talking, if it is a guided run, they're telling you what to expect. Mind you, they're telling you at the beginning of the run. Once we're in the intervals, it's already out the door. I don't even remember what you said. But I think that helps me a bit because I'm not focused on what's coming up next. I'm focusing on the interval that I am in right now, right this second, what's happening right now. And shifting that focus has just been so helpful because I realize once I get to the end, I'm like, oh, that was it? That's all y'all had? I'm expecting more. And not having something to go to that I'm seeing all of the workouts listed out and potentially getting overwhelmed just thinking about all of the different intervals that I'm going to have to do in this exercise. But I'm really focusing on what is happening right now, the interval that I'm on right now. I am feeling like just very connected to my body. And it's interesting how quickly just putting one foot in front of the other, just doing one thing at a time, just focusing on the now can help to ground you, can help to shift your focus to get out of your head and get into your body, to put your mindset in a better space so that you can deal with things that are a little bit more complicated or deal with things that you think you can't do or may have trouble doing. But once you do them, you're like, oh, that was easier than I thought. I feel like building up a narrative around some of the things that you may not want to do or that you perceive to be hard is detrimental to you. It's detrimental to your growth because you are anticipating. And when you anticipate things, it's not just a mental thing. It's also a body thing. So your body it's already preparing to tense up. It's already preparing for the worst. And because of that, it's so much harder. It's like you're creating another barrier within yourself to whatever you're trying to go after. Calming yourself down, taking a deep breath, saying, okay, what is the best thing that can possibly happen? What is the best case scenario? What is the best outcome? And using that as a visual, using that as something to go after versus thinking about what could possibly go wrong is a way better use of your time, your energy, everything that you can give. It just makes it easier on yourself to think of what could go right. Today, as you go into the rest of your day or the rest of your evening, I want you to think about how you are feeling in this very moment. I want you to think about not what's coming up next, not what's coming up tomorrow, not what's coming up a week from now, a month from now. I want you to focus on today, how you are feeling today. Check in with yourself and actually respond. And if you give an answer that's good, that's fine, I'm feeling okay, I want more than that. I'm feeling okay because I didn't get enough rest this morning. And rest is something that I realize is really helpful to me having a good day. Give yourself a full response and see how that answer changes day by day. We're going to do one more deep breath before I let you guys go here. Actually, let's do 3 just to round it out. So we're going to breathe in. And we're going to breathe out. We're going to breathe in. And we're going to breathe out. In. Out. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of A Concept You, the podcast. If this episode has resonated with you, be sure to share it with your loved ones. For more, connect with us on Instagram at aconceptyou or visit makalacreates.com/ACY. Until next time, keep doing you and take care.